Hey, 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 good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Latanya Washington. You know how we do it here at Night School, and I am super duper excited because I have two of our distinguished gentlemen here with me that will be at Tilt 2020 for Leaders this coming weekend. That is in the form of Tim Adams, Mr. Tim Adams, and Mr. TK Gregory. And so we get the opportunity to hear from them. You all get the chance to really understand who they are as men. We're going to be talking about life. We're going to be talking about leadership. They're going to be sharing a little bit about what they will be discussing on this weekend, and we are getting it in. Well, good afternoon. And how are you all? How are you all, Mr. Tim and Mr. Tyrone?
Doing great, doing awesome. Glad to be here. Really excited about this coming week for the guests and the attendees to really understand and take advantage of the whole platform that you laid out. I'm just excited. I'm ready for them to learn, and I'm ready to hear the feedback.
Yeah, same here, man. I'm honored. I'm excited. I'm blessed. I'm like I said, I can't just speak just how honored I am to be part of such an amazing platform, man. The L.I.S.T tour has been going on for years. And for me to finally be amongst those great individuals, man, I'm super excited. Super excited.
We are glad you are here. That is for sure. I'm especially excited that you guys are here because this year I wanted to make it a little bit different, even though we have gone virtual. But it's like this year, I think we have more men on the platform than we have females. Wow. And so, especially with the male panelists that we have, that'll be happening in the afternoon, and they're going to be talking about how leaders grow other leaders. Mm-hmm. And so, you all out in there in what we call this internet land, this is literally the first time Tim and TK have literally met each other. But honestly, they both deal with Tim deals with the credit. And TK deals with the taxes. I mean, you know what? That's too much.
Oh, Taylor, man, you need to have a conversation outside
Absolutely.
Right, outside of this. Yeah. I mean, just amazing. And you see, that's how it works. That's how it works sometimes. You never know. And so I want you all to talk to us this afternoon. First, Tim, I want you to share a little bit about who you are, and then what you'll be talking about at Tilt for Leaders this weekend.
Well, like you said, I'm Tim Adams, your credit improvement specialist with Attainable Credit Solutions, based in California. Again, I'm excited to be here. Very transparent. I know that credit is a very taboo situation. We all need it, but nobody wants to talk about it. So I lay my life on the line: bankruptcies, evictions, tax liens, foreclosures. I've been through it all. So I'm able to walk someone through that process and let them know that 7 to 10 years, that not even the law that says it. It's not even the law. It's just documented. That you have to wait. You do not have to wait that long to start rebuilding after whatever happens in life. Right. So during the L.I.S.T tour, I'm going to be talking about that from a high level. So as far as the credit, we talk about the credit and the rebuilding, that's in the weeds. That's what you have me for. But I'm going to be talking about the mindset, the value behind it, the things that your purpose to do in this earth, and for yourself and for your family, you're going to need to access capital. Right. So, and that takes a mindset to understand value. And I'm going to be talking during the L.I.S.T tour really about your mindset, things to give you those good habits and mindsets and thoughts and that discipline. I think TK here probably chime right in when we talk about that discipline, because you know how we are. We want to make all the money, but we don't want to pay no taxes.
We try to pay them taxes.
Right? You gotta pay them
Hey. Absolutely.
And TK, share a little bit about you now. TK will be talking about leaders and motivation, because to me, he is such a motivator. But I know too, he deals with taxes, and you already know we always try to get away from that. I had the IRS calling me today. Like, you ready? You ready? But anyway, it's always something. But share a little bit, TK.
Yeah. So as Ms. Watts said, my name is Tyron Gregory, and of course I do taxes. That's what I do as a living. But what I'll be speaking on is really how we as leaders motivate ourselves, right? Because as Tim said, discipline is one of the things that we lack, one of the things that we need. But not even that though. When it comes to leader and leadership, it's expected of us to always be strong. It's expected of us to always be the ones to have solutions, expected of us to always be the ones to be able to take all the lumps and the bruises. But who can we go to, right? Like how do we get our motivation to stand and continue to go out there and continue to go forward, man? And so I find that even as a tax professional, motivation is important, right? Because I have to find ways to not only motivate myself, but motivate my clients to be like, look, you got to pay this tax bill. There is no way around it, right? So, motivation to me is something I love to talk about, because as Ms. Watts said, I do like to motivate, man. I'm always full of excitement, full of joy. And to me, kind of like Tim said, it is a perception, but how do we get that perception? So that's what I'll be talking about on the L.I.S.T tour, which again, I'm super excited to be a part of, is how do we motivate ourselves? How do we develop a mindset that no matter what comes our way, we are going to plow forward and just continue to reach our goals immensely. I'm super excited. I'm trying to contain myself right now. Right. I don't want to go all in, I get excited talking about it, but join me for that day and we're going to have some fun. I'll say that.
Exactly. We are going to have a good time. I am so excited about it, because we even have Nassar Garganu of Serious Fitness on Saturday. He is going to open up with, I don't know whether he's going to start off with some Zumba or if he's going to start out with some cardiovascular, because I was thinking, I said, it is Saturday morning. We have to wake up. Yeah. And so I am excited about all of it. And so talking to you two here, when we talk about leadership and we talk about life and we all the things that come into play with it, because I hear you both are talking about the mindset of it all, because we know as leaders, and I want you all to jump in on this, we have to deal with so many situations. People are pulling on our coattails. It's so much happening. So many crises go down. And so I want you all to kind of jump in a little bit when we talk about the discipline of leadership. Tim or TK, which one of you guys want to start? The discipline of it all.
Well, and like I said, that's going to be like the first few words that come out of my mouth on the tour, just the discipline and the mindset, because, and not to really go way down into the physics and things like that, but subconsciously we have to run a program, just like our computers. Like your computers, especially those of us that still, run on Microsoft and things like that, it's still running DOS in the background. Why? Because DOS is stable. And that's what we have to do as leaders. We have to run a stable, process-oriented, subconscious program in the background. And then we deal with the conscious. Those are the things where we pivot. And then we go back and challenge our subconscious when we get new information to make sure that those foundations are secure. It's not really about feeling. Like, I think my kid said something to me the other day about why I didn't feel like doing it. I said, well, I don't feel like getting up and go to work, but but my subconscious is processed to go to work. I get up like clockwork. It's not about a feeling. It's about leadership, and leadership is not it's not just leaders and followers. And I know we segregated, and now you look on the internet, there's a lot of things about leaders. But when you think about the components of leaderships, we're all leaders, because we should all want those disciplined, consistent. It's something else I put on there. Committed. Yeah. Commit. Sure. I posted this morning. Commitment will get you started, but consistency will get you to the end.
Absolutely.
And that's what it has to. It has to mean something, almost like what you learn in accounting. And I'll turn it over to TK. I learned this term, I guess almost about 30 years ago, opportunity cost. If it's not, what you're doing and what you believe in is not worth the opportunity cost, you need to see what else you need to be doing.
Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
DK.
Man, great segue, man. Because when we talk about discipline and mindset, beautiful what you said about your children, man. I think God gave us children for a reason, right? Because they give us so many lessons. Because I had that conversation yesterday with my children, like, I don't feel like, and I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like getting up either, but I have to, right? Because if I don't, what becomes, will you have what you have? Yeah. Will you have those things, man? So discipline to me puts me in the mindset of really how bad do you want it? And when we look at leadership and how bad do we want it, like most leaders are in that role because it's a natural thing. They have a natural inclination to want to make sure people succeed. Because most leaders, especially the ones that I know, are selfless. They don't really do it for themselves. They do it for the individuals that's behind them, right? They do it for the individuals that are going to be successful because of them. It's kind of like Moses in the Bible, right? He said, I know I ain't gonna see the promised land, but I'm still gonna lead you to it. Right. That selflessness, and that takes a certain kind of discipline. But the discipline only comes when we get into the mindset and we have to, like you said, create that system, right? Like you said, you got real DOS, right? Like I don't know how many people understood what that DOS in the background mean, but creating that system that puts us on auto, right? Because discipline, it definitely puts us on auto. Like, man, when that alarm clock go off, trust me, I'd rather turn it off, not just hit snooze, but turn it off. But I'm like, you know what? That system, like, no, I have to do this because there's someone else depending on me. If I don't do this, I'm not just failing. There's a whole system of people behind me that's failing, and not just including my immediate family, but I got to look at, because I get up and I go and I learn and I discipline myself to stay steadfast to study. I regurgitate that to my children, and then they take it to their friends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not just my intermediate family that's being affected by my discipline. It's a lot of other people. And to me, that's another key thing of motivating, which is what we'll talk about. So definitely.
Right. And so just like you were saying, it's like each one to teach one. And so even as leaders, you can touch one individual and you don't even understand all the mass amount of people or the masses that you may be touching just by touching that one person. Absolutely. And so too, I want to ask you all this question because it comes up often. Plus I was reading this in a book about leaders leading from an emotional distance. Do you believe that to be possible? For a leader to lead from an emotional distance?
Well, let's define emotional distance.
How
are we defining emotional distance?
Okay, for me, it would be you not being able to see my vulnerability, or I'm not showing you who I really am, or showing my personality, almost to the point of not being transparent. But I think it's very. Should a leader be transparent?
Right. I think
don't get me started. I'll start.
Yeah. I think it's very. Of course, you always have to know your audience and whoever you're leading, or even at that time, it's very hard. I'm not saying it's not doable, because some people don't need that type of transparency, but they might only need a tier of transparency. Just depending on where you are. especially when you talk about age and what's going on in their lives. Like if Tyrone, for example, if I become his tax client, there's going to be a level of transparency because he's going to see that, oh, you messed up over the years. I mean, you straight now, but we got to make sure that you stay on that path now, because you got more bad years than you do good years, things like that. So that's where, especially if he, like when Tyrone TK was saying, like it's about being selfless. And when you're selfless, when you think about Jesus, and they said, all the questioning and all the beating, and he opened up not his mouth as a lamb before the shearers. I mean, there's no more transparency than, him being bruised and ripped and basically torn naked and disfigured and dismembered and disrespect, or what we would call disrespected. And he opened not his mouth. So when you talk about transparency, if you can't talk about it, why did you go through it? That means you didn't learn nothing going through it. I dare not want first my family, and then anybody that wants to succeed. I dare not let them go through what I've gone through, because I kept my mouth shut. And if you're transparent, they can't use that against you.
Right.
I own it. Well, I own it. Yep, I did it. And I can't do nothing about it.
Right.
Go up.
Exactly.
Man, I love the parallels between Tim and I, because it's funny things he said.
Good.
Just yesterday, I was having this conversation, about transparency, and because my wife we were at my mother's house having a celebration, and somebody was going to dare me to do something. My wife was like, "Don't you dare him to do it, because he'll do it." And I'm saying, you know why? Because it's hard to embarrass me. Right. I don't embarrass easily. So when we talk about transparency, like I did it, I own it.
Right.
There, you really can't hang that over my head.
Yeah.
But it is funny as leaders, we do walk that thin rope. Do I want to be emotionally connected? Do I want to show that? Do I want to show that transparency? Will they attack me with it? Because it's funny.
Or hold it against you.
Yeah, or hold it against you, because as much as we perceive leaders to be that strong, that's probably one of the issues a lot of leaders struggle with, is the fact that they're not that strong, right? So they not like Tim and I. You can throw us to the wolves and we'll come out there the alpha male. We'll run the pack, but not every leader is like that. So I believe in transparency. I think that's probably the best way to lead, because how can you tell me to do something if you yourself have not experienced it, right? I absolutely believe in that. But then again, as Tim was mentioning it before, you have to know your audience. So there is something called situational leadership, where you can decide how to react based on the situation. So that's always my approach. I'm with Tim 100%. I'm a listen first, right? I'm not just gonna hear you. I really have to listen and then make sure, how am I about to respond to this here? Because I agree 90% of the time, transparency, emotion, because sometimes if we looking at it from just a productive or a numbers standpoint, and we miss out on a human element, we've miscorrected the whole entire situation. So we have to make sure that emotion is in there as well.
Right. It's somewhere in there. Okay, like LaShawn. Hey, LaShawn. LaShawn is our MC for the 2 days situational leadership. That's good.
Oh,
That's my first time hearing that term, situational leadership. That's good. And I think that is something that people need to hear, because honestly, for me, I don't know what your opinion would be, but a lot of people have a difficult time showing their emotions. And I believe there's a difference between being emotional and being able to show some type of emotion or transparency. I think that's the best way to lead, to be able to be transparent. And so I think this is good stuff, because I know a lot of people have a hard time leading by showing showing their vulnerability or being transparent enough. And so now, what do you all think about? And I know on this weekend, we're talking about mental health. We're talking about leadership and motivation. We're talking about getting rid of that financial stress.
Amen.
We got some good stuff. We are talking about organizational clarity. Okay, I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. Getting clarity within your organizations, driving results. I mean, it's all about leadership and life this weekend. And I was telling someone this, and I think I may have posted it. I said, there comes a time in our lives when situations occur or an event happens that will pivot us to the next level. And so I want you all to kind of talk about that. Do you believe that there are times and situations and occurrences that will pivot you to the next level, because you both are leaders?
Oh, absolutely. I remember I lost what I thought at that time was my career job, and I found myself in a place I just didn't know where I was, and I cried out to God, and He basically pointed the finger back at my thinking and the way I processed. I mean, He did. He it's almost like He took my thoughts and put them on the nearest wall and said, "Where you should have done that, you did this." And I took full responsibility for that. So it's definitely it's definitely a responsibility side to it. I mean, it's definitely a responsibility side.
Yeah.
But it's only scary because when you get inundated with what you see, you get distracted from what you believe and what brought you. So I remember when I got back into management, and I would go to work nervous. I would go to work super early because I was nervous. And I was one person managing 200 people. So it was not like I can cover 200 jobs. So then I thought about it. I said, well, hold on. I'm a problem solver.
Wow.
If it's a problem, they hired me to solve it.
Yes, sir.
And from that point on, that's when I really got into process. Okay, what's the process? It's all right if the boss gets mad because he's whatever emoting, he got the answer to some people. However, let me see what the problem is. Let me put a containment in place. Now let me put a countermeasure in place. And then let me check the countermeasure and then move to the next problem. When I started doing that, that's where I began to matriculate through my career.
Amen, brother. Man, that's beautiful. Man, I can only piggyback on that because to me, pivoting is pivotal.
Well,
I'll say that because I absolutely believe that as leaders and entrepreneurs, that's what we must do. We must not panic. We must pivot. And to me, that goes back to the discipline and the mindset, right? Because it's so easy to sit there and just panic, right? It's easy when all of a sudden something doesn't go the way we planned it, or something isn't what we're comfortable and used to doing. We can sit there for a lifetime and be stuck in that moment because we didn't pivot. Right. And I like I said, pivoting to me is probably that's one of the things. If I ain't no preacher, but I say I'll preach because we think about what happened in 2020. Right. So many things happened in 2020 that really put a comment upon leaders. Be like, what are we gonna do? Right. We have people depending on us, but now that COVID is here, we have to close our doors. So what do we do? Think about if the restaurants didn't say, you know what? All right, so we can't have nobody inside. Well, we'll put them outside, get some tents. Right. That was pivoting. Right. Think about all the barbers who was like, man, we got to close our shop, but guess what? We'll go mobile. That's the if you don't pivot,
that's it.
You will have no progress. I mean, and that's to me is like I get real passionate and get chills with that, because that is when we look at those who win and those who stay stagnant, or those who I hate to use the term, but it's the only way to describe lose. It's the mentality of pivoting. They don't say, oh man, this came up, now I can't.
Right.
They say, well, let's find a way. How do we change this? What next? What else can we do?
Yeah.
You know, and that's a God-given mentality. You know, he didn't put us here on earth to lose at anything.
That's right. That's
you know what
right.
I'm saying? So if you can't pivot, you have to question your position.
Wow.
Think about when I think they call it the chapter of the heroes of faith. I think was that Hebrews 11, around 8 chapter.
Well, preach on, Tim.
Well, and they talked about Abraham. Now we know Abraham was wealthy, the father of nation.
Yeah.
But it still talked about he was still pivoting. He was still looking for that land whose builders and maker was God. He had everything materialistic that he needed.
Absolutely.
Everything, paid for things with cash.
Yeah.
But he was still pivoting, not pivoting like when a problem came, but still like there's still so much more. Like Miles Monroe, and I'll close with this. Miles Monroe said, I want to die empty. He said the richest place is the cemetery. I want to die empty. So how many more opportunities we have to pivot in this life? I mean, we should welcome pivoting at this point.
We should. We should absolutely welcome pivoting at this point.
Yeah, I believe that too, because I think too, when people go through, recessions and pandemics, looking at the history books, I've seen people come up to another level. It just depends on the mindset and the discipline and the willingness to move, or we call it this year, it's been called the pivot. Last year I think I called it a shift. And so I think you have to be willing and able to do that. And so and I'm excited about this, because this is what leaders do. We pivot and we shift. We don't care what's going on in the world. We take on that mentality that I'm going to push forward. And if y'all coming, better come on, because we're going to open up the gateway. I know I had heard someone before say, LaTanya, you act like you, no, they didn't say act like, they say you are Harriet Tubman. I say, well, I'm like, y'all better come on. Y'all better come on. Y'all better come on.
And TK brought up Moses just when he was, he ran into that water when those Egyptians was chasing him. Lord said, I'm gonna paraphrase as Jasper Williams would do. Stop all your crying and raise up that staff.
There you go.
How about that?
I don't see you thinking you need a boat to get across this water. You don't need a boat. And the people that's chasing you, you will see no more.
Yeah. And you know what? And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another topic of discussion, especially for leaders, having the ability to know when to use your staff. Because I think I knew, because that was hard. It was a hard thing for me, because for me personally, I love to be in control. And if I don't see something going right, I'll just take the reins. I'm like, forget this. Booyah. I'll do this myself. And so for me, it was a hard thing to do. And so I want you all to talk about that, because I think a lot of times when it comes to leadership, finding the people who fit. I know what last year, I think it was Dr. Lisa Ligon, she talked about personalities that fit together. And let's talk about this a little bit, because I don't know if leaders truly utilize the people that are around them or know the right fit. So share a little bit about that, Tim.
I think, we know, TK, I know he can understand this. Everybody's not our customer, right?
Absolutely.
But when you're in like a corporate setting, sometimes you don't get to choose who you work with, who's working for you. And as leaders and even as pastors, we become managers of behaviors. And that's where process. My dad taught me an important lesson. He was finishing preaching, and he asked me, he was handing me the mic, and he said, who's over the pulpit? And I said, so-and-so. He said, and then after we went back to his office, he said, son, the reason I did that, because we have to follow process. Why would I put a process in place if I wasn't going to follow it?
Right. Wow.
And see, when you put a process in place, you're going to have containments and audits and things, set up that you're going to manage to make sure it doesn't get out of hand before you do have to make an executive decision, but you keep it unemotional at that point.
Yeah.
Then there's room to learn. There's room for error for those people that coming up that you're bringing up, because you don't want them to have fear. You don't want them to always ask for permission.
Right.
So things are built in for them to, if they have some error, but they're not catastrophic.
Yeah.
Then once it gets to a certain level, as the leader or the executor, they can know when to step in to make sure the ship doesn't hit the iceberg.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's a good one. Absolutely.
Well, I can't wait for you all's Q&A on. Let me write my questions down right now.
Man, you know what? You always have me over here jumping when you're talking about the staff moment in Moses, because when you look at that analogy, there are so many layers to that that we can unfold. Because one, when we think about that, Moses had that staff with him the whole time, right? He had the people with him the whole time, and then when he was faced with this obstacle, with this seemingly impossible obstacle, he was like, what am I gonna do? And we do that as leaders, right? We have the resource with us, within us. It is we carry it with us, like Moses had that staff. Moses had that staff from the time he left to the time he arrived. And when he got there in that position, he was like, what am I gonna do? The idea that he had this powerful thing with him didn't come to him, even though it was with him that whole entire time.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how we do that as leaders, because I'll use myself as an example.
Yeah.
I'm now self-employed. Now, 1,000% run my own business, but it took me 10 years to get here. My wife encouraged me, and I give her credit for this, because she, 2 years after me really getting into taxes, she was like, you know enough to start your own business. But me having that staff, right? Like I had the staff, I had it with me the whole time. The staff being the knowledge, and my river crossing or my ocean crossing was my own fears. Like, how am I going to start a business? I can't afford overhead. I don't know enough. I'm not good enough, right? How am I going to do this? And I stood at the front of that riverbank for 10 years. Until finally, like you said, boy, I had to realize I got the staff right here. Let me put it on the ground. And as soon as I did that, not only did them oceans part,
right,
but the sand turned into gold, and I was able to walk on it, because only then did opportunities present itself. But as long as I was standing there, not utilizing the staff, not utilizing my resources, even the people, when we talk about managing personalities, I ignored those. I had a whole bunch of people in my corner who, was willing to help get started, but me, my own self, got in my own way. So we as leaders have to acknowledge that, right? Like I said, we as leaders, it's just us.
Right.
So we really have to be mindful of how we are to ourselves, because we will cause ourselves our own condemnation.
And you know who put it best?
Wow.
He passed away earlier this year, the great late Dr. Bishop Kenny Rogers. He said, you got to know when to hold them and know when to walk away and know when to run.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. That is so true. That is so true. And even as we end this afternoon, I mean, this is some good stuff, y'all. My God, I could talk to y'all for 2 hours.
Let's go.
But so let me ask you this. Even when we're talking about leadership, and then we're talking about people in general. So then would you say you have to pay attention to those people that are in your circle? Because I know a lot of times we just let folk in, but what do you guys say in regards to that? Let's talk about that. I'm not gonna say anything else. I'm gonna let you all have that.
That's a whole 2-hour conversation.
That's it right there. As I said, 2 hours.
And that's the thing. And I've learned that, I got a quote. I can't quote it right now, but don't make a decision, of course, when you're sad. Don't make one when you're happy. Things like that, just because you don't want to make sure, like, you don't want the emotion to get before the logic and the truth. You definitely, everybody will not go to the levels with you. It's not that you will necessarily leave them behind. For example, if I just use TK, for example, we went to high school together, for example, went to college, and our careers matriculated. Doesn't mean that we're not, connected. I might still be his kids' godparents, but because of maybe the area I'm in or the arena I'm in, if TK wants to come to this arena or vice versa, one, I have to submit to the process of that arena.
Right.
And a lot of times when we talk about leaving people behind, we don't get into the why. You have to submit to the process of that arena.
Right.
If not, you're going to embarrass yourself and embarrass your sponsor. And that's that's what people can't do. And that's where they find themselves left out because they just won't submit. And because they look at that as a bad word. No, I don't know taxes. Guess what? I'm going to submit to the knowledge of TK. And guess what? I'm going to submit to it. And Pastor told me this, one of my mentors, he said, Tim, you don't have to be wrong for long. As soon as you hear truth, step on the side of truth and you're no longer wrong. You just got to submit to the truth. You can be wrong. Just that you can change it just that like quick. Just like that.
There it is. Wow.
There it is. TK.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say Tim was being nice about it, because I'm real big on the company you keep, because I believe the company you keep it does a lot of things. It says a lot about you. It influences you, and it can have a direct impact on whether you succeed or fail. So, Jim Rohn, I do believe, says we are the average of the 5 people we hang around.
That's right.
So when you think about that, I have to ask, who am I hanging around? Are they adding to me, or are they taking from me?
Right.
So I specifically choose to hang around people who are elevating higher. They're always thinking about the next move. They're always, doing something, because I can't be around people if their whole entire conversation every time that we're together is woe is me. And I'm like, why is woe is you? Right. If we come from the same area, right? Let's just say we come from the same hood, right? We grew up on the same streets. How is it that I can elevate and you can't?
Right.
So I really have to be mindful. I think the company you keep as a leader is so important, because either you are going to be delighted when you leave that conversation, or you're going to be depressed. Right. So you must choose specifically and consciously the company that you keep. Because there is many cases where, you tell somebody your dream in your circle and they be like, man, that ain't gonna work.
They'll process your dream off of their pocket.
Man.
Off of their pocket.
Yeah. They will. They'll tell you that ain't gonna work, and you be like, you believe it, because think about who our circle is. We only let people in the circle that we love and trust. Right. So we value and respect their opinion. So if Tim is part of my circle and I respect him as my boy, and I'm like, oh, Tim, I got this great idea, and Tim be like, boy, that ain't gonna work.
Right.
I'm gonna believe him.
Exactly.
And I'm no longer going to pursue that based off the comment of someone in my circle.
Yeah.
But who's to say that he, God gave me that vision. He didn't give it to him.
That's right.
So it's not for him to understand it.
That's right.
So who's, so him not seeing it and saying it's not going to work, that vision just now laid by the wayside.
That's right.
That's right. And that's a terrible thing. So we absolutely must be mindful of the company we keep.
Mindful of the company we keep. I always remember Bishop Blake would say, if you have 2 good friends, you are literally winning. And you know what, as I began to go down in life and evaluate, and I said, you know what, he is telling the truth. because you literally will have, and we're talking to leaders, you all, and I hope you all are listening to this. You have, I always say, you have that inner sanctum, you got that outer sanctum, and then you got another group of folk. And so I truly, truly believe that everything we do, especially as we are leading people and as we're going about our day, even in life, we have to pay attention to the people who are surrounding us, because as you said, it could be just that one individual that could be in that circle and say, you can't do that.
That's right.
And the mindset is, oh, well, maybe I can't do that. But as you said, Tim, they that's on their own dime. That's their cost. That's how far they're thinking.
Think about Nehemiah. Them guys didn't get on that wall with him. He said, if y'all gonna talk, y'all need to get on this wall if you're gonna talk.
Get on the wall.
You know what I'm saying? I need y'all help. If not, you just, you just blowing smoke.
Oh yeah.
Just blowing smoke. So even as and this is some good stuff. Is it not? Yes, it is. And so as we leave here this afternoon, because I do not want to take up the rest of you all's day. I am so excited that you guys are here. People get a chance to meet you and ask questions of you on this coming Saturday. Give your last words for our people that are here on this afternoon. I would say even some form of encouragement to people out there that are leading. They're in leadership roles and maybe don't even know what to do next.
Well, I would say, of course, be a part of the L.I.S.T tour this weekend. It's going to be a phenomenal event, life-changing event. And again, believe. Start right now. Challenging those things that are not profitable, that are not adding value to your life. It was hard to really understand that scripture, as a kid, when Jesus talked about, mother and father and things like that. But when you think about where you're going, it's not that you don't love them. It's that I am here to do the work of my Father. We are ambassadors. We are ambassadors of God. We are endowed with everything that we need, whether it's in us or it's the connectivity, as TK said earlier. As you move, you connect to do everything that you were purposed here to do. And it's not too late. He is the God of breath. So as long as you can breathe, we need to do is pull up our bootstraps, get around some people that are doing more. Right, so you won't bring down that average. Get around more. Submit to a process. Submit to a non-emotional process, and just day by day. Don't build for tomorrow. Build from today. Every day is building. Michael Jordan was not great because he just hit the turnaround shot or he jumped in the free throw line. He built on his success starting from high school all the way through college until he got that opportunity, met that preparedness, and he was able to walk inside of it.
That's it.
Amen.
That's it.
Amen.
Amen.
If I had to leave anybody with some words of encouragement, I would just say this. Remember to pivot. You are not in leadership by happenstance. You are not a leader somehow by a freak accident. You are a leader because you are capable. Remember that. Hold fast to that. Remember your why, right? Like, and you hear me talk about this in my thing about the L.I.S.T tour, understanding your purpose. One of my most favorite quotes is by Mark Twain that says the two most important days of your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. Right. That just to remember that, right? When you get out the bed every single day, you are to awaken with a purpose, right? Awaken for a purpose. When you open your eyes, be intentional. Right. You just plow forward, move forward, just ignoring the things that come to you. Right. One of my favorite scriptures is that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. What it did not say is that you won't be attacked. It just said those weapons that were formed, that is going to come at you, that is going to come near you. They just won't do what they were intended to do. It's not to say that you won't see them. Right. But as long as you don't focus on them and you continue to move forward, you will see some great and amazing things. But that is a mindset that you have to adapt every single day. Every time that you are blessed to open your eyes, make sure that you awaken for purpose, be intentional, and you will see amazing things.
All right, you all have heard that. I mean, there's nothing left for me to say, but you all need to be at the L.I.S.T tour this weekend. I'm hearing you saying. And so I'm excited because once again, we get to hear from you all. We get to glean from you all, from the information that is on the inside of you. And then we get a chance to ask you questions in the meantime from each and every one of our speakers. And so thank you, Tim, for being with me this afternoon.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I'm great.
Thank you, Tyrone, for being with me
thank
this
you.
afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you
and
for having me.
We are going to see you all this weekend. I know Friday, we're Friday night. We're starting at 5 o'clock. We're starting with the leadership hubs. They're going into hubs so we can work some stuff out and talk some stuff through. And then we'll be dealing with mental health on that evening. And then Friday morning, we literally are starting with Bishop William Benson out of San Diego, California. He deals with the FBI, the police department. I mean, I ain't got nothing else to say. I'm going to just lay my towel down and I'm going to receive from everybody on that on this weekend. And so thank you so much for being with us. Thank you all for listening in. I know this is on YouTube. This is on Facebook. Thank you to our lead ambassador, McKenna. I know she's sharing the watch parties, and to LaShawn for sharing as well. She's our MC for the day. I'm already full. I need to go take a nap now, y'all. But thank you guys so much. And this is LaTanya Washington, and I have nothing else to say but say this is Night School and the founder of the International L.I.S.T tour. We'll see you all this weekend.
All right.